Welcome to the Mischief Maker broadcast, where chaos, creativity, and common sense collide. Your host, Joel Freeman, was kicked out of high school in Alberta, Canada. He left home at 17 and hitchhiked around North America as a long-haired hippie and dope-smoking fool. He made a 180-degree change, becoming one of the first chaplains in the history of the NBA. As a professional speaker, Joel has traveled to well over 55 countries. His many books have been published in 28 foreign translations. Pieces from his Black History collection have been seen by millions at the United Nations and many other venues. And now, the Chief Mischief Maker himself, Dr. Joel A. Freeman.
Hi, Baby Joel here. I have a tip for you. If you leave alphabet soup in a saucepan on a hot stove and go out of the house, it could spell disaster.
There we go. Baby Joel speaks again. And we're so thrilled that he's able to join the show at the beginning of every show. And that's become a signature part of the Mischief Maker Show. Now, what does the Mischief Maker Show mean? What does Mischief Maker mean? Well, you have to go to the QR code above or chiefmischiefmaker.com, as you see beneath my name, and you'll see a definition of what it means to be a mischief maker. Or if you are wondering if you want to become one, it'll show you steps on how you can become a mischief maker, along with the link tree of all kinds of information about the Freeman Institute, Rosetta Universe, which is our sponsor, and music, all kinds of stuff. And we have a great show for you planned today, whenever you're watching this and wherever you're watching this. We have a gentleman by the name of Ko Klaver coming on. He's from Holland, the Netherlands, a Dutchman, and he loves tulips. Now, you might say, what the heck? What are you going to do to talk about tulips? Do you know one of the I think the first financial bubble in recorded history was in the 1600s? It was called the TULIP Mania. I bet you didn't know that. Maybe you did. Well, he's going to give us some inside scoop on that. Also, we're going to talk about Tulip Mania today and a whole lot. So if you got a green thumb, if you're a person that is a horticulturist, if you love planting things, having a garden, you're trembling with excitement because this is going to be your show. If you're not someone with a green thumb and you plant some plant and it dies shortly, you might get some tips today from Ko as he shares his passion for tulips, especially. Now, I have with me here, this is the belt I designed for this gentleman by the name of his name is Jack Johnson. It's the only one on the planet. We're only making 700 of these, and worldwide. So wherever you are in the world, if you are in UK, France, Germany, Russia, Cuba, the Caribbean, South America, wherever you are, Canada, all across the United States, this gentleman back in the early 1900s, he traveled all over the place. He beat everybody. He became the world champion, the first black boxing heavyweight champion in the world in 1908 just outside of Sydney, Australia. And then they put an asterisk next to his name. And they said, "Oh, you haven't beat the Great White Hope, James Jeffries." 2 years later in Reno, Nevada, he beat him. And this belt is a kind of an educational tool. But I digress. We're gonna. I want to get right to Ko as quickly as possible. I have a song for you. It's called "Vision Rich, Cash Poor." This is a song that I wrote and produced. And since we're talking about business, we're talking about Ko as a young man becoming interested in tulips and then building this enormous worldwide footprint around the tulips. We're going to get some business wisdom from him. But first, let's listen to this song. Ready?
was so fine. We talked about marriage, how we want our lives to shine. She's got her own dreams, and so do I. But it seems like we don't have enough to even try. I got a business plan, an idea so great, but I need the cash with low interest rate. I know it's risky, but I believe in me, and I know my love, she's my guarantee. Money's tight, but our dreams are bright. Together we'll make it, we'll be alright. We got love, that's the score. Vision rich, cash poor. My girl has doubts about our future life. She worries about the little money, if it's enough to be man and wife. But I reassure her that I'll do all I can to make her dreams come true and work the plan. Money's tight, but our dreams are bright. Together we'll make it, we'll be alright. We got love, so let's explore. Vision rich, cash poor. We had each other, and that was the plan. Years clicked by, life had ups and downs, but we stayed true to our dreams, our love unbound. Money's tight, but our dreams are bright. Together we made it, and we're happy tonight. We got love, and that's for sure. Vision rich, cash poor. Looking back, we still have some regrets, but we don't forget all the good times and lost bets. We're not millionaires, but we've got so much more. God-grown kids and each other, that's worth living for. Money's still tight, but our dreams are bright. Together we made it, and we're happy tonight. We got love, who needs more? Vision rich, cash poor. Got a new knee, but young at heart, with our love as the key. Crazy about each other, and that's worth more. Still vision rich, cash poor.
Well, the bones are creaking and got a new knee. Ko, it's welcome to the Mischief Maker Show, and you grew up in Netherlands. You're here in the United States. I think right now you're up in Massachusetts, but you live in the Maryland area. But you travel quite a bit. Take us back to your childhood, if you could. Growing up in Holland. The boy with the finger in his dike, Hans Brinker, all the different tales and fables and stories, ice skating on the waterways, the canals. Take us back to your childhood.
Well, thank you, Joel. Yeah, hey, great to be with you here on the show. And growing up in the Netherlands was kind of a fairy tale, really. When you look back at it, I grew up on the tulip farm. And I mean, how many people do you run into the world say, hey, where did you grow up? I grew up on a tulip farm. I grew tulips, and I learned it from my dad and my uncles. And this is really all I know to do. Is I actually went to a horticultural college in the town of Hoorn in the Netherlands, and studied flower bulbs and perennial production and growing. And so in the early days, you're growing up on the farm. You basically are lockstep with your dad. You learn all the tricks of the trade, as we call it, and how to grow it, what to do, what not to do. And then, you're basically are expanding out. It's like, okay, I want to learn a little bit more about this. But I was at that time, I would say a little lost. I was trying to figure out what could I do. And your song that you just played was actually very apt to that. Is my vision was bigger. It was bigger than the Netherlands. And I decided to sign up with this exchange program with Future Farmers of America. And I came to America and really to be an exchange student. And that just really changed and pivoted my life to be a farmer in America rather than to be in the Netherlands. But all the tricks of the trade and the growing of the flower bulbs and the distribution and all those things, the machines that we use to move all these bulbs and how to grow them and how to harvest them, how to plant them, that's all still in the Netherlands. So we always go back to that tulip cradle in the Netherlands where we pick up all our knowledge, and we even export our knowledge to our farms all over the world.
Folks, if you're one of the benefits of watching this live is that you have the opportunity to ask questions. In fact, I'm relying on you that when I miss a follow-up question, when I miss an insightful question, that you'll be right there to step right in and to ask the questions. So get your fingers ready and reach out with a question for Ko, and we'll take it as quickly as possible. And Mel, our producer, he will determine if it's your question is germane to the topic at hand, and we'll bring it forward to us. Now, you grew up, as you said, in Holland. You're in a family now who was growing tulips. Now, many times, second generation or next generation is just not interested. Your dad could have 5 ice cream shops, and you're just not interested in being a part of the ice cream shops and taking them over as the next generation. What was it? Was there a moment, an aha moment for you where you said, this is what I want to do, or was it kind of gradual?
It really was very gradual, Joel. You're 4 or 5 years old. You can carry a bucket. You can carry a basket of bulbs. You can work in the farm. You can push the clutch down on the tractor to either let it ride or stop it. All these little things basically were just building up where you're just part of the farm. And your dad was the farmer. He was the boss. We had hired help in the season for the harvesting. And as the son of the boss, you were expected to be a leader at a young age. And you just duplicated those things. And even with other crops, we would go and work with other farmers in other bulb crops in town or in the next town over and learn those aspects as well. So it was a very gradual way of stepping into it. And it's you just grow up with it, really. And, here you're on a tulip farm, you're 10 foot below sea level, and you're growing on the bottom of all these lakes that they have pumped empty and dried out and started farming on the bottom of it. It's quite amazing what we do in the Netherlands on that little piece of land. And it still mind boggles me that the Netherlands is actually the second largest exporter of agricultural products in value, not in units, but in value, second largest after the United States, and not even the size of New Jersey for that matter.
Now, tulips are not native to Holland. They came from, was it Turkey? The original, the origin of tulips?
Yeah, correct. That was in the late 1500s, mid 1500s, somewhere around there. At that time, you had the Ottoman Empire that pretty much struck that area of Turkey and northern Iran and Persia. And tulips were just a species plant in the mountains there, and they were collected. They were at the the courts there of the Ottoman Empire in Turkey, and one of the ambassadors brought it back to Western Europe and brought it over to the Netherlands. And it actually became quite a collector's item in a few years after that.
And with tulips, it's, I mean, when we think of a red rose, we think of love. You know, it's February 14th. You want to give a dozen red roses or 24 or one or whatever it might be. What is the emotion associated with tulips as you see it?
Mostly with tulips, it's spring.
Okay.
And it's just the birth of the spring season where all the flowering is coming in. Tulips are probably one of the first big blanket of color that you will find in the spring that is blooming out there. And if anybody ever is in a plane and they land at Schiphol Amsterdam Airport, or they're approaching it, and it's a clear day, you're looking at a tapestry of color just flying into it, and you just mind boggled with what you're seeing at that time. I'm even amazed with it every time I get to see it, because it's just a wow, really. So yeah, it's that spring announcement that's really, you know, that last week of April, first week of May, they're all in bloom over there.
And growing up on a farm, you know, it's just, there are ups and downs and all arounds. What are some of the most difficult challenges that come when you're, you know, first putting the tulips in, and you know, is it climate? Is it, you know, bugs? You know, what are some of the biggest challenges?
Well, by far the biggest challenge is weather. It's actually rain. It's water.
Mm-hmm.
Since we're in Holland, in the Netherlands, or the Netherlands, or the lowlands, or below the sea level lands, you're constantly in the process of managing water levels. That's why you see those windmills, they were pumping the water out. That's where we do not have townships, really. We have water management districts that handle all the water management to keep the fields at the right moisture level. And if it gets too wet, the tulips will drown in those fields, because, you know, there's no oxygen, there's no air in the soil. It's all saturated with water. So water management is by far the big one. Yeah, of course, you have little bugs. You have your aphids, you have your thrip, and these different kind of pests that we need to deal with. But weather is probably the big one. You get a hailstorm coming in, that's not pretty either, but there's not a whole lot of control you can do about that. Water, we can manage the water levels. The Dutch have been really good about that for centuries, actually. So it's to make sure that we keep our feet dry, as we call it.
Mm-hmm. Tell us a bit about your family, your siblings. Do you have siblings, and your parents, and are they still alive? Still.
Yeah, well, my dad passed away in 2017, 2018. And he was a tulip farmer and a lily bulb farmer all the way through. He also had dairy cows as well.
Mm-hmm.
My older brother and my younger brother, they actually at this time are running the farm. They are the tulip growers now. And then I have a nephew from my older brother and a nephew from my younger brother that are just stepping into the farm as well, and are the next generation taking it over. So my grandfather started it already. So we're several generations in right now. I also had two sisters. One married a dairy farmer, and the other one married a vegetable farmer. So we had quite the farming community going on.
So Holsteins, Jerseys, Guernseys, what kind of cows, dairy cows did you have?
We had the Jerseys, and we had the Dutch black and white ones. But we got to a point in the Netherlands, which, well, now we're in the dairy farming, where the udders of the cows just got so big that they needed to build a bigger cow with a stronger legs and a stronger back. So they actually went to the United States and got some of the Holsteiners and brought those over to Europe and built a taller, stronger cow that could carry that milk. And I remember that because when I was young, we had to redo all the milking stables because the bigger cows couldn't fit in there. So they all had to be retrofitted at that time. And that was probably in the early 80s, I think, maybe the late 70s, early 80s, somewhere around there.
I was watching a podcast not long ago, and they were talking about predictors of success for children. as they move into their adult years. And, one would think, education is important, eating right is important, exercise, getting involved in sports and learning team activity and things like that. But they came away with the whole idea, and in the research indicated that it was doing chores. That if children had chores to do daily or on the weekends or whatever, that was the greatest indicator of success. Speak to that on a personal level, growing up on a farm with chores to do.
Well, I'll wholeheartedly agree with that, actually, Joe. And I grew up with chores. We had a paper route in the morning. We had to feed the young cattle. We had to help out. We also had 30,000 broilers, chickens, on the farm as well, and we had to set up those stables, and we had to walk those barns, and there was always work. When we came out of school on a little bicycle and we came home, and it was right around 3:00, it was tea break, coffee break, and it was put on your work clothes and you were going outside. And then after dinner, that's when we did our homework, basically. I'm doing the same thing with my 4 boys they're 22, 20, 17, and 15. And I'm very apt with them having chores and working. I don't even like them to work on a job where they have air conditioning. I like them working on farm markets. I want them to be really outside. I want them to come home dirty, tired, and hungry. And when boys are idle, they'll get into trouble. Well, I'll keep them busy, so they're hungry, they want to eat, they want to take a shower, and they want to go to bed. That's what I've been doing, and I'm proud of my boys. They're actually coming into business as well right now.
Really, that's incredible. Now, what is your entry? How do you do that? Because that's, once again, you're now coming to another generation. What are some of the things you're doing to train them up for succession?
I always gave them the opportunity to come with me to visit customers when I was visiting other farms and customers. I always took them with me to trade shows. My wife and I, we had the opportunity and were blessed to be able to homeschool our boys. So we were very flexible with that. My second oldest, I had a farmer in Alaska, in Fairbanks, who had challenges with health and he needed help with the harvest. So I sent my son over there. Well, he did that. And now 3 years later, he's actually owning that peony farm, cut flower farm in Alaska. And that's only 4 months out of the year. And the other 8 months out of the year, he helps me running my warehouse in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where the business partners and I have that flower bulb importing and distribution business going on there. And then my oldest one, he wants to help out with running the farm here in Massachusetts, in Deerfield, where we grow perennials on about a 50 to 60 acre production farm. And it all really comes down to is finding what they're passionate about, finding what they're excited about, and just be the cheerleader and give them opportunities. But not to talk them into it, not to push them into it. They got to explore it themselves and get excited about it.
Yeah, I guess a good maxim is if you can talk someone into it, they can be talked out of it, right?
Correct. Yeah, yeah, exactly right. Yeah, would it say that a person changed by the opinion by another is still of the same opinion, basically?
That's right. Now, growing up in Holland, Hans Brinker, I think that he did a lot of skating on the canals in the wintertime. Is that is that fantasy or is that real?
No, that's real. When you go to the Netherlands and it's cold enough, they skate on the canals, and it's almost a national holiday when it's cold enough and the ice is thick and hard enough for everybody to go out there. There's also, and this happens not that frequent because they have to stop the boat traffic and everything. There's an 11 city skating tour that starts at 6 a.m. in the morning.
Really?
And you got to finish by midnight. And I think there's, if I'm correct, I'm doing this out the top of my head, it's 16,000 people that can start on that one. And it's just brutal. I was never a really big skater. I've done it, but I was okay. I was really never good at it. But I had friends of mine that were really good at it. And they were skating marathons. And those kind of things. It's a national pastime, really. They'll stop. I mean, they'll companies will shut down and say everybody has a day off. Just go skating.
Wow, Ko, that is quite an amazing thing to think about. Growing up where you have ice all around, all the canals and the races and the different ways that people can go visit different cities from the canals. I grew up in Alberta, Canada, and a little town of 2,000 people with 9, let's see if I can do 9. Yeah, 9 ice hockey rinks. Always had a rink behind our house. And from late October to early April, I was on the ice probably a minimum of 2 hours a day. And I remember reading about, I think it was Hans Brinker or Christian Andersen, or what, I can't remember all the stories, but I remember reading and seeing pictures, of artists' conceptions of people on the ice and skating to and fro. And I thought, wow, what a world that would be, to be able to skate from to school, to skate to shop, to skate, to do whatever I was doing. That was a dream of mine. So it's quite a fascinating thing. You're quite the skater?
No, not really. I mean, I've done plenty of skating, and I skated on the canals and going from town to town. But I was not the sports talent, as you would call it, in that regard. But I remember when I was in the Royal Dutch Horticultural College in the town of Hoorn, and that was either 84, 85, or 85, 86. I'm not exactly sure which of the 2 years, but it was this young farmer or farmer's son who won that big race twice, 2 years on the road. And then he sold that dairy farm and sold all the cows, and he immigrated to Canada. And I do not know if Red Deer is close to where you grew up, but he is living in a town called Red Deer, Canada, and he's milking cows there now, and he skates over there as well. But I hear the Canadians actually are born with skates on, just about.
That's right. Red Deer was about 40 miles from where I grew up in a little town called Three Hills, and we used to go to Red Deer quite often. So I know that area very well.
Well, this gentleman's name is Evert van Bentum, and he's right in your neck of the woods. He was the champion of that big skating race in the mid 80s there, 2 years on the road.
He must have been a national hero, wasn't he?
Basically, yes.
So you never made it to the Dutch National Hockey League?
No, I never did. I don't even know if there's a.
I'm just making a little joke. I
was going to say, I don't even think there's a National Hockey League, but speed skating is quite a bit, yes.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to take a little break, but I want to tease when we come back after the break for our sponsor, Rosetta Universe. We want to talk about the tulip mania, that happened in the 1600s. And if you could kind of prepare yourself to give us kind of a quick historical overview of that, and then maybe we can learn more about that history and see if there's any applicable lessons to us in the 21st century. So let's go to Rockstar. This is a song that a friend of mine, I asked him, I said, we have this Rosetta Universe. I want to have a song that is 4 minutes long, or approximately, that anyone who's never heard about the Rosetta Stone story will learn about it in 4 minutes. And when they come out of it, they can say, oh, I know a little bit more. I want to learn more about it. So here it is, Rockstar. I hope you enjoy it.
Every rock star has a story. Here's a piece of mind. May it bring peace of mind. I started out once upon a quarry, around granite and lime, looking for a way to shine. Now all I wanna do is inspire you to look inside, to take your eyes off technology, look into the light. Don't let go of the higher you, put up a fight. I've come such a long way to remind you of why.
A French revolution made room
for more solutions, but due to a lack of ships, that plan was ruined. Until word from Egypt said the empire was falling by some French merchants already there losing bargains. Perhaps the Brit problem could be solved if they charged in, make it to the Red Sea and Indian Ocean targets, clip the route to riches and the British lose the markets. Of all the other ways, this one seems to be the smartest. In walked the odyssey of a French war prodigy, known for everything you can think of but modesty. Corsican born with Italian blood, he hated, swapped the letters in his name, and the Frenchman he became it. Beloved war vet looking for what comes next. Napoleon Bonaparte's ego beating in his chest. The directors talked it over and the timing was great. All of this decided March 1798. The order came 12 April to get it by blood. Invade by August just before the Nile floods. To liberate Egyptians and be cool with the Ottomans. Trick them both to see invaders as a better option. 50,000 strong, the opposite of nonchalance. Included were 167 savants. These men knew how to spot treasure at a glance. If they could have known, I wouldn't make it back to France.
Every rock star has a story. Here's a piece of mind. May it bring peace of mind. I started out once upon a quarry, around granite and lime, looking for a way to shine.
July 1799, plans crumpled to a pile at Fort Julian, west branch of the Nile. Bonaparte forces on the march once again to duke it out with the Turkish and the legacy defense. The fort needed much reinforcement. Lieutenant Bouchard was in charge as the source of it. The demolition woke me up, and just luckily someone saw my darkness in the light and discovered me. But what was on my pretty granite face was worth mentioning. From top to bottom, 3 horizontal inscriptions. Bottom one in Greek, the middle one Demotic. The final script being hieroglyphic was up top of it, 3/4 of a ton. More studies to behold. The savants told to translate by General Minot. The Greek part was easiest, but no slow feet. Last sentence showed that what they had was a code key. Same text in 3 scripts about the reign of Ptolemy, engraved in around 157 BCE. Demotic was common Egyptian language, but still not easy to decipher cause it was ancient. The savants worked overtime just to get the hang of it. Through measurements and patience, they vowed to attain it. Meaning, if not for me, you see, Egypt's history would be doomed to fancy graffiti. You're welcome.
Now all I wanna do is inspire you to look inside, to take your eyes off technology, look into the light. Don't let go the higher you put up a fight. I've come such a long, long way to remind you of why.
A language laid dormant since 4th century BC. My inscription read about the 5th ruling Ptolemy. After that, my silence left Egypt in time's sand. Lost footprints blown over by the wind. But what seemed to end brought more than before. In 1802, as the spoil of war, I arrived in England as an ancient puzzle piece. Seeing men went to work seeking prestige all because of me. I slayed brilliant minds and made fools of the best. But determination is the best tool in a chest. Yeah, scholars worldwide beating one drum, but very few did it with the skill of Thomas Young. And William John Banks was also right on top of it. In 1815, he happened upon the fallen obelisk. The Greek and hieroglyphics on it read bilingual. Closer was the dream that so many would cling to. Jean-Francois Champollion was a genius, an expert with languages. Of course, he intervened and he put it all together, what they knew of what he knew. In 1822, Champollion had a breakthrough. That man was dedicated all seasons, every holiday. The work was so exhausting, he passed out for 5 days. The human mind's a solution machine. You're looking at a reason when you're looking at me. You're welcome.
There you have it. My friend Mark SX wrote that, performed it, and now you just watched it, the music video version. And that's the setup for something we call the Rosetta Universe, where we're transforming an ancient artifact into a modern metaphor for problem solving and critical thinking. So take a look at the QR code above you. And I think number 1 on the link tree is about the Rosetta Universe. Take a look at it. We have folks like Ben Carson, Smokey Robinson, Kathy Hughes are on our advisory board, and a whole host of other people. And so if you have any advice for me, any ideas, any thoughts, any connections, any wisdom, just call me up. My number's there, and I'd love to learn more from you about your thoughts on this huge vision and goal. Anyway, we're back now to the show with Ko Klaver. Welcome back.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your crazy schedule to be with us. You travel all over the world, and I know that you have just some insights into the history of what is commonly known as the tulip mania. If you could just take some time, whatever time you need, to kind of get out your paintbrush and paint a picture for us of understanding what that did to the economy, in the Dutch economy, and who it impacted and why.
Yeah, it's a very interesting time, because in the Netherlands that was called the Golden Age, the 17th century, and of course that starts in the early 1600s. And the Netherlands was pretty quickly figured out a couple of things. One is the battles against Spain and France and Great Britain, the UK. Those were challenging battles. They didn't want to deal with that, so they actually let them fight each other. And they started these trading routes. And actually, in the town of Hoorn in Amsterdam, they had two companies, the first two publicly traded companies that they started up, the VOC, which is the East Indian Trading Company, and the WIC, which was the West Indian Trading Company. And they started trading all these spices all around the world. Well, once they started hauling these loads back to Western Europe, and that got sold all over the place, they became very wealthy in Amsterdam, super wealthy. I mean, you're talking about Carnegie Mellon, Bill Gates, Jobs, those kind of figures that they were earning over there, and building tremendous amount of capital. And they wanted to fix things up and make their houses look pretty and the gardens look pretty. And they found these tulips that came out of Turkey, which an ambassador to the Ottoman Empire had found there at the palace and brought it back to the town of Leiden. And this gentleman, professor, Carol Clusius, he was the one that actually started propagating them and dividing these bulbs and started growing them. And he found out that they grew really well in the Netherlands. Well, there was one variety that was Semper Augustus that had a red-white streak in there, and that had somewhat of a symbolism towards the Dutch national flag, and was really cool. And they were bidding, and they were buying them, and then they couldn't get the bulbs fast enough. This wasn't happening in Amsterdam. It was actually happening in the town of Haarlem, outside of Amsterdam, more where they were growing them out in the country. And they were trading them in pubs and taverns and those kind of areas. And they started basically trading contracts and futures, almost like your today's stock market in New York City. They were trading futures on this crop. And it got so high in value that they were selling 10 tulip bulbs for the price of a house in Amsterdam, just about. And just tremendous amount of value. And that height bubble really started kicking in 1634, Joel. And then by 1637, there was something very interesting happening. They were trading there in that town of Haarlem, and a couple of farmers got worried because it was a very wet year and a lot of rain. And of course, the Netherlands is for 2/3 of the country is below sea level. I grew up 10 feet below sea level myself in one of these reclaimed areas. And they were like, man, my bulbs might not survive this winter. So what did they do? They got worried and they started selling off. And that selling off went so fast. And of course, how do you communicate that back to Amsterdam? That didn't happen until a day later. And then by the time the tradesmen and the business people got word back to the trading pubs and taverns, that whole market had collapsed. And that is basically now the first recorded bubble and bubble burst collapse in the economy of the Netherlands and in the world. That's actually in the history books right now, and it's a very interesting period to read. I mean, folks can look it up on Wikipedia or any of their sites where you search on, and they will see what's going on. It's a truly interesting story to read and investigate.
My goodness, if is there any feeling of that worry about that happening ever again, or are there things put in place so that won't happen again in the tulip industry?
Well, communication, of course, now, Joel, is at a much faster speed. I've already communicated at 7 a.m. this morning with the Netherlands and already found out what's going on and where the ocean containers are and when my Easter lily bulbs are arriving today, actually, at one of my warehouses here in the US. So we're getting ready to plant Easter lily bulbs for Easter 2026. But what you do have is there is always the risk. Right now, we're dealing with the risk on this whole tariff thing with Europe. Tulip bulbs and lily bulbs are not really grown in the United States or propagated and multiplied out. So I have to buy them out of the Netherlands to bring them to the USA. And I'm dealing with this tariff right now. Well, that is quite the amount of money that I need to pay to the government to bring those bulbs in. And that does change some of the effects on how my customers are looking at, hey, what do we need to grow? Is it a collapse? No, it's not. But it does create some hesitancy and some conservative thoughts with some of these bulb growers, like, hey, I'm not going to jump in way deep. I'm just going to play careful this time around. So we deal with those kind of things, yes.
If you could go back in time and talk to some major person, a figure, who would that be during the Tulip Mania, and what would you ask them?
Well, I would love to talk to Carol Clusius, who is the professor in Leiden that was growing them. The Horticultural College that I went to in the Netherlands is named after him. It's the ClusiusCollege in Hoorn. And I really would love to pick his brain about what did he see with the tulip breeding. The one variety that's Semper Augustus there, that was actually not new breeding. That was really a mosaic virus that kind of created a streaking in the bulb. So breeding now, what we do is much more advantageous, of course, with all the gene marking and everything that we're doing. So we actually pull those varieties that they were bidding on at that time. We're pulling them out of the field and we're throwing them away because we know they're virused. Other ones I would love to talk to are these owners and executives and board officers of the East Indian trading companies. I would love to pick their brain on how they were running those companies. There's got to be some knowledge about enterprising and international business and logistics that I have not even figured out. I would love to pick the brain about how that all went about at that time, because now we track everything. Back in those days, they just had to wait for the boat to come into the port, and I'm wondering how they handled all of that stuff and the value and the money trading and all that stuff. I mean, it's a pretty interesting time period.
What lessons do you think we can learn today? I mean, we have, we had the .com bubble, crypto, NFTs, housing, even social media trends are driven, and people hop onto something, hop off. Any lessons you think that we can glean from that?
Yeah, I would say so. First thing I would really say to the folks listening to this is that if it's good to be true, it might be, but I would definitely investigate it. I'm personally the kind of guy, I will not jump in on at first, right on the bottom there. I will do a little bit of research and some homework and see if it's a good move. I like this thing, what I call managed risk. I'm not afraid of taking risk, but I want it to be managed in such a way that I'm not throwing everything up against the wall and hoping it's going to stick. The other part that I always notice with all of this is you have to do your due diligence. You got to read up on these things. You got to study what's going on. You got to read what I call read between the lines and see the trends that are happening out there. History will tell us a lot about what's going on now and what will happen in the future, because there are definitely benchmarks in history that duplicate themselves again in the future. And if you're a good studier of history, you will find those benchmarks that you can measure with and understand what is a wise decision or what's not.
What is it about the tulip industry that most people may not understand? Let's say about growing, harvesting, and marketing tulips.
Well, what a lot of people do not know is they think a flower or a plant will just about grow anywhere. But God in his wisdom has created different plants in different parts of the world. So when you look at all of this, tulips need what we call vernalization. Vernalization is a time period of 12 to 14 weeks of temperatures between the 5 and the 9 degrees Celsius, where the bulb will reset itself in dormancy, and it will develop the plant, the flower, the stem, the foliage for next year. And once it has gone through that, I can actually cut a tulip open straight down, and you can see all these parts already in that bulb. It's actually almost like an antenna that you will pull out in the spring. So if you try to grow this in Africa, it's a little challenging. You could do it maybe in South Africa, but then tulips grow again really good in New Zealand, Tasmania. Australia is a little bit more challenging. It can be done in the US, but then you'll be more like in Washington State, Oregon, and British Columbia, Canada. So it's not a thing that fits for everybody. You got to know your plants, and people really like tulips because it's a happy flower. It's an announcement of spring. It just makes them happy about the new year coming and all the blossoms and all the flowers.
Are there any superstitions about tulips, myths, legends, anything that you can think of?
Yeah, not really, actually. It's tulips are really a French flower. It's a flower, 5 stems in a bunch, 10 stems in a bunch, or a pot of tulips that can be given and handed, and it makes people happy. Folks also like to receive bulbs and then plant them in their own garden and see them coming up next spring. So it's kind of interesting. You can give the bulb, or you can give the flower, or you can the cut flower, or you can give the potted plant. So you can go a lot of ways with a tulip, but it's definitely the happy flower, as I call it.
What's the most unusual or expensive type of tulip that you've encountered over the years?
Wow. Right now with the breeding that I've seen and what's coming out is we've gone from the classic tulip look to the double flowering to a double layer of 2 double flowerings on top of each other. So it's almost got like a crown on top of a double flower. We've seen some real crazy things, like we're always chasing the black tulip. We've gotten to the deep purples, to the almost like totally black. If you actually do see a black tulip on the internet or in a catalog, it's probably painted up a little bit to make it even more black than what it is. But that's still what people are looking for, is that dark tulip. Not in big numbers, but there's always like, hey, I really would love to have that black flower. And I'm a guy that likes bright colors. So, but I do remember one time I did a big spread for the Orioles in Baltimore, actually at Camden Yards. You're familiar with that?
Yes.
Where we did a display of black tulips, orange tulips, and white tulips for opening day. And that was right out there. And that was a lot of fun to do.
So you do you have some kind of a way to breed the tulips? Like you get a vision in mind, maybe even draw a design on a piece of paper, and then say, if we mix this with that, we can come up with that. I mean,
yeah, you can kind of set directions in breeding. Back in the days, it was much more done on different colors, different varieties, the bicolors. Right now, with the changes in the world, where we're trying to reduce the use of chemicals in crop protection programs, what is happening is we try to be more sustainable and responsible farmers. And we're trying through breeding, to build more resistancy and resiliency against diseases. That is a more in-depth type of breeding, where you really track all the different genes on which varieties are naturally resistant and bring that in other varieties. So that's what's happening right now, is to really reduce the chemical use in farming. And I just read an article not that long ago, I think a week ago, that in the Netherlands, they were able to reduce chemical use on farming by about 20% already. And I was pretty impressed with that, because I did not think it was going to be that big of a leap, but I was pleasantly surprised by that.
Now you've been studying AI, gene science, robotics. How are they going to impact the tulip industry?
Well, with AI, there's so much data out there that is stored in the cloud. With AI searching through all this data and this information, you can fine tune the direction where you want to go with breeding, where you want to go with marketing, what the consumer habits are. Even the consumer habits in certain parts of the world are different than others. So you can direct your marketing and your production because of that. You can really fine tune by not overproducing those kind of things. And then in breeding itself as well, you're able to fine tune and hopefully even jump over a few steps that you otherwise have to do to figure things out and just become more efficient in it. Tissue culture in laboratoria is one of the great ways where we are creating new varieties by not waiting for plants to go to seed and then sow the seeds and see what's coming up. We can go through things like doing embryo rescue out of these tulip plants after you were able to cross hybridize them, and then bring those into tissue culture and then bring them into planting stock, and what we call then vegetatively propagate them. So that is you basically you clone them. That's what you're doing, and it sounds really scientific, but nature does it by itself too. When you get the little bulblets on the mother bulb, that's kind of how nature clones a bulb by itself already also.
Wow, there's so much to this. I'm just kind of fascinated by just all the different realms. Did you come into this, the new AI type stuff kicking and screaming, or did you embrace it, or are there dystopian elements to it that concern you?
Not really. I accept it and work with it with what I mentioned earlier. I do my due diligence and I see what works well for me, and I take it, the advantage of that. There are other things that I am a little concerned about, and I might just park that and say, okay, I need to do a little bit more research and a little bit more reading and a little bit more digging in and talking with other industry people to figure out, okay, what's smart here, what does make sense to do. AI can be a very powerful tool to work with, especially in marketing. It can almost create presentations for you. When I talk to my customer base and bring this new product to the market, that's probably where I'm at right now with a lot of it. Within the breeding, I talk with the people that do that because I'm not an active breeder myself, but I work with the people that do it, and they are definitely using that to strategize and to move forward with what they're trying to accomplish. So it's you want to just grab that as a positive. I mean, it's there. Mm-hmm. Try to use it to the best advantage.
I know since the pandemic, a lot of people become more accustomed to doing Zoom calls or whatever you want to call it with other people rather than going physically. Has that changed your whole approach, that you can say, well, just show me on Zoom and let's talk about it, rather than going to Malaysia or wherever it is that you're going?
Zoom or any type of video conferencing works great. But what I actually learned during COVID, the one-on-one meetings are huge. The in-person meetings are huge. Just the body language, just being in the room with that person that you need to do business with. I actually upped my traveling during COVID. So I kind of did the thing what I call watch the masses and do the opposite. I like doing that because it puts me in a realm that I'm kind of on my own. So I traveled all over the United States. I couldn't go to Europe. I traveled all over the United States, and I visited with all these different farmers and all these different customers. Some of them said, yeah, meet me at the picnic bench outside, or, hey, I don't want to meet at the office, but let's meet at the park or whatever. And some of them said, yeah, come on in, man. No worries. We'll walk the greenhouses. We'll look at everything, or we'll walk the fields. And I actually increased business a tremendous amount during that period just because I was willing to travel. And a lot of people around me says, no, I can't travel. I don't want to travel. I don't want to take the risk. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And, nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? That's what it comes down to. So I just traveled as much as I could.
That's amazing. Huh? Where does this take you? worldwide? Where do you find yourself going the most?
Well, I'm responsible for North America, so that is where my customer base is. So I deal with the growers that fill the box stores and the supermarkets, and where the product goes in, either as a cut flower or as a potted plant or as a garden center type item, if it's in the perennial types. But then from a sourcing base, I'm dealing with stuff all over the world. We're hauling it in from Chile, where we grow the Southern Hemisphere bulbs. There are bulbs grown in New Zealand. We're dealing with tissue culture labs in China, in Vietnam, in Poland, in the Netherlands, just about where we can get it. The challenge with it is, and right now, especially with the tariffs, we have to move from one lab to another because some countries have more favorable status on the tariffs versus some others. And so it's not always easy to do that. And you always work 6 to 12 to 18 months ahead on crops. And so you always have to really look at 2 years ahead of it and make decisions and hoping that you make the right decisions, and that's why you have to read a lot, you have to study a lot, and you also have to just put your feet on the desk and think a lot.
If your kids were on the show here, what would they be asking you that you've not discussed with them about this?
My wife and I, we're raising 4 boys.
Yeah.
They're 22, 20, 17, and 15. And probably the first question is, Dad, how do you do all of this? How do you keep all these balls up in the air? I am a natural extrovert, and I'm probably falling off the edge of being an extrovert. So I have just a good feeling about being able to keep balls up in the air. Sometimes I do notice that it's a little bit too much, but my boys, they were looking at me, it's like, I don't know how you do it, that. But it's the energy that it gives me, and it just keeps me going. My oldest one, he's looking at helping and managing the farm up in Massachusetts. And my second oldest, he has his own peony cut flower farm up in Fairbanks, Alaska. He's only 20 years old, and he also helps me run the warehouse in Pittsburgh. So he's already a business owner and a homeowner and helping to run the business. The 17-year-old, he's wrapping up high school in May, and we're going to teach him how to do sales. He's like me. He likes to be out on the road. And my 15-year-old, I don't know yet. He likes gymnastics right now, and we'll find out, and we'll find a spot for him as well. So the family business will continue, Joel.
That is terrific. Well, yep. Ko, this has been wonderful talking with you. What is the best website for people to get a hold of you?
Folks can get a hold of me at zaboplant.com, zaboplant.com. That is the company website, or they can email me. And my email address is my first and last name together, Ko Klaver @me.com. And welcome to email me and ask me questions. I'll help out the best way I can. That's
terrific. Well, it's been wonderful, this whole hour with you, and I wish you all the best. And anyone that wants to go to the QR code above, just scroll down. You'll see the show. You'll see Ko's face, and just click on his face. He won't mind. It'll take you straight to the website, the best website to reach him. And so that's another way to get a hold of Ko.
You have just experienced another episode of the Mischief Maker broadcast. Hit the subscribe button. Connect at chiefmischiefmaker.com. Thanks for coming along for the ride. And hopefully, you are now a bit closer to becoming a mischief maker in your part of the world.